I want to ask you a question. What would you do if I told you that in just 7 minutes, you could begin a healing process that medicine alone cannot always reach? Most people would doubt it. Some might even laugh. But deep inside, when the noise is gone, there's a part of us that whispers, what if it's true? Healing is not just about curing the body. Healing is about restoring balance. It's about reminding the mind, the heart, and the soul of something they have forgotten, that we were never created to live in fragments. When the body is sick, it is often echoing what the spirit has been trying to say for years. When the mind is anxious, the body follows. When the soul feels heavy, sickness finds an open door. So where does prayer come in? Prayer is not simply words we say to the air. Prayer is alignment. It is the act of bringing our entire being into the presence of the one who made us. Think about it. When you are in deep prayer, your breathing slows down, your heart rate adjusts, and your mind, once racing with 1,000 thoughts, begins to focus on a single truth. You are not alone. That shift is powerful. Science calls it neuroplasticity. Faith calls it renewal. And here's the beauty of 7 minutes. 7 minutes is long enough to shift your state, yet short enough that no one can say they don't have time for it. In 7 minutes of true prayer, the body enters rest mode. Cells respond, stress hormones decrease, hope rises, and hope is not just a feeling, it is chemistry. It changes your body from the inside out. I remember sitting with a man who had been told there was no way forward. His disease had progressed too far. The doctors had run out of answers. But instead of surrendering to fear, he chose to surrender to prayer. For 7 minutes every morning and 7 minutes every night, he stilled himself, closed his eyes, and aligned his heart with God. Day by day, he noticed changes, not only in his body, but in his peace. The more he prayed, the more strength he found. The more he aligned, the more healing flowed, not always in the way he expected, but always in the way he needed. Prayer heals not because it magically erases every disease, but because it changes the environment inside you. It turns despair into courage. It turns fear into faith. It awakens the immune system. It strengthens your will to fight. And sometimes, yes, it brings the kind of healing that even the most advanced medicine cannot explain. But the real question is this: are you willing to give 7 minutes? 7 minutes where you silence the phone, turn off the world, and open your heart. 7 minutes where you believe, even for a moment, that your Creator has not abandoned you. Because healing begins not when you are cured, but when you remember who holds your life. So when we speak of prayer that heals any disease in 7 minutes, it's not about a stopwatch, it's about a choice. A choice to believe that healing is not only possible, it is already within you, waiting for you to align with it. Healing begins when the body, mind, and soul are brought back into alignment through prayer. And to truly understand this, we first have to look at how disconnected most of us have become in our daily lives. We wake up and the first thing we do is reach for a phone, scroll through 100 voices, carry worries from yesterday straight into today, and before we've even taken a breath, our nervous system is already under pressure. The body tenses, the mind races, and the soul feels buried under layers of noise. And yet, if you pause for just a moment, you can sense that this is not the way we were created to live. The body, mind, and soul were designed to work together in harmony, not in conflict, not in fragments. When one part suffers, the others respond, and when one part is healed, the others can be restored too. That is why prayer is not just a spiritual practice, but a holistic one. It is the act of drawing everything that feels scattered back to one center. When the body is sick, it is rarely only the body that is affected. Pain in the body often creates pain in the mind, and pain in the mind can crush the soul. If you have ever gone through illness, you know it is not just the physical symptoms you battle, but the heaviness that comes with it, the anxiety, the sense of being trapped inside something you cannot fully control. Doctors may treat the symptoms, medicine may help fight the disease, but until the inner parts of you are addressed, there remains a gap. Prayer enters that gap. Prayer is the bridge that takes what the body cannot carry alone and lifts it into the realm of the spirit. It tells the mind to be still, it whispers to the soul that there is hope, and it invites the body to rest. In that moment of alignment, something powerful begins to happen. Stress hormones lower, the heart rate steadies, the immune system strengthens, And most importantly, the person begins to feel whole again. We often underestimate the role of the mind in healing. When the mind is anxious, the body cannot heal properly. Scientists have shown how chronic stress weakens immunity, slows recovery, and worsens disease, but prayer reverses that pattern. Through prayer, the mind finds focus, a single point of stillness, and instead of racing through endless fears, it anchors in trust. That trust has a biological effect. Neural pathways shift, the brain releases calming chemicals, and the body receives a signal that it is safe. Safety allows healing, alignment allows restoration, and the soul, which is often neglected in medical treatment, receives what it longs for most, a sense of connection, a reminder that it is not isolated, that it is loved, that it is seen by something greater than itself. The soul is the deepest part of us, and when it is in distress, no amount of physical comfort feels enough. You can have the best medicine, the finest treatment, but if the soul is empty, healing feels incomplete. Prayer speaks directly to the soul. It fills the emptiness with presence. It reminds the inner self that life is more than sickness, more than struggle, more than what the body is experiencing. This doesn't mean prayer ignores the body. It honors it by calling it into unity with the spirit. It is the soul saying to the body, "We are not fighting this alone. We are aligned with the source of life itself." That assurance gives strength that no pill can create. That peace carries a person through the hardest nights. That alignment is what keeps hope alive even when circumstances seem impossible. Imagine a person carrying 3 different voices inside them. The body is crying out in pain, the mind is drowning in fear, and the soul feels abandoned. Each is shouting louder than the other, and the person feels torn apart, unable to move forward. But then imagine that person entering into prayer. The noise begins to soften, the mind takes a breath, the body loosens its grip, the soul senses presence. Instead of 3 separate voices competing, they begin to sing in harmony. The body whispers, "I will rest." The mind says, "I will trust." The soul answers, "I am not alone." In that harmony there is healing. Not always an instant cure, but a shift, a realignment that creates space for recovery to unfold. Healing is not just about the disappearance of disease. It is about the restoration of harmony. Prayer makes that restoration possible by calling every part of us back into unity. Many people think healing is something external, something only doctors or medicine can provide, but the truth is, much of healing begins within. The body already carries extraordinary intelligence designed to repair, regenerate, and renew. The mind has the power to direct focus, to create resilience, to inspire perseverance. The soul holds the deepest well of strength, the connection to something eternal. But when these 3 parts are divided, that power is diminished. Prayer activates all 3 together. It reminds the body of its design, it quiets the fears of the mind, and it strengthens the soul with hope. That combination creates an environment where healing can flourish. Even if the disease does not vanish instantly, the person begins to live with strength, with peace, with courage, and those qualities alone transform the journey of illness into something that does not defeat them. This is why 7 minutes of prayer can be more powerful than hours of worry. In 7 minutes, the body receives rest it has been craving, the mind receives clarity, and the soul receives nourishment. Those 7 minutes can change the chemistry of the body, the outlook of the mind, and the resilience of the soul. And it is not about reciting perfect words. It is about posture, intention, presence. It is about saying, "Here I am, with all my pain, all my fear, all my weakness, and I choose to align with the source of healing." In that choice, something shifts. Energy that was wasted on anxiety now fuels restoration. Fear that once crippled the mind becomes faith that strengthens the heart. The soul, no longer silenced, rises with hope. That is alignment. That is healing. Healing begins when the body, mind, and soul stop pulling in different directions and start moving together. It is like an orchestra tuning before a concert. At first the sound is chaotic, each instrument out of sync, but then one note is struck and every instrument adjusts to match it. Slowly, the chaos becomes harmony. Prayer is that tuning note. It calls the body to settle, the mind to focus, the soul to connect. And when they all align, the music of healing begins to play. That music is not just felt in the spirit, but in the very cells of the body. It is the music of peace, the rhythm of restoration, the harmony of true wholeness. 7 minutes of focused prayer can calm the mind, reduce stress, and activate the body's natural healing processes. And to appreciate how something so simple could hold such power, we have to look at what actually happens when a person enters that state of stillness. From the outside, 7 minutes seems short, barely enough time to finish a cup of coffee or check a few messages, yet within those few minutes, entire systems inside the human body begin to respond. The heart rate, often elevated by worry and constant stimulation, begins to slow down. Breathing, which might have been shallow and rushed, lengthens and deepens. Muscles, tense from carrying invisible burdens, start to release. These changes are not accidental. They are the body's way of saying thank you for choosing stillness. They are the body's way of resetting the mind, is usually the hardest part to calm. Thoughts race, memories replay, fears about the future pile up, and many people believe they cannot quiet the noise inside. But prayer gives the mind a focus. Instead of 10,000 thoughts competing for attention, the mind receives one thought, one anchor, one point of clarity. That focus allows the noise to fade. Scientists often describe this shift as moving from the sympathetic nervous system, which governs fight or flight, into the parasympathetic nervous system, which governs rest and healing. 7 minutes of prayer can trigger that shift. It is like flipping a switch inside the body, moving from tension into restoration, from survival into healing. The mind that was once overwhelmed suddenly finds itself resting in a place of trust. And this rest is not laziness, but recovery. Stress is one of the greatest enemies of healing. It inflames the body, weakens the immune system, slows down recovery, and makes every condition worse. Yet stress is also one of the most common realities of modern life. People carry stress in their jobs, in their relationships, in their financial struggles, and when sickness enters, that stress multiplies. It is no surprise that healing becomes harder in such an environment. But 7 minutes of focused prayer interrupts that cycle. It pulls the person out of the constant stream of stress and places them in a different atmosphere, one where the mind is calm, the body is safe, and the soul is connected. In that atmosphere, the chemistry of the body changes. Cortisol levels drop, blood pressure adjusts, the immune system becomes more active, and healing is given a chance to do what it was designed to do. What makes prayer unique compared to other calming practices is the element of surrender. Meditation may bring focus, breathing may bring relaxation, but prayer adds a layer of connection that goes beyond the self. In prayer, a person acknowledges that they are not carrying the weight alone, that they are not fighting sickness with only their strength, that there is a greater presence willing to meet them in their weakness. That act of surrender brings a peace deeper than relaxation, because it is not built on effort but on trust. Trust tells the mind it does not have to figure everything out, tells the body it does not have to fight in exhaustion, tells the soul it is not abandoned. That is why even 7 minutes of prayer can feel like lifting a heavy burden off the chest. The release is physical, emotional, and spiritual all at once. Think of someone lying awake at night, unable to sleep because of pain or worry. They toss and turn, the body restless, the mind crowded, the soul tired. Then they decide to take 7 minutes for prayer. They close their eyes, breathe slowly, and begin to focus not on their fears, but on the presence of God. In the first minute, the noise is still loud. By the 3rd minute, the breath is deeper. By the 5th, the weight starts to lift. By the 7th, they are not cured, but they are at peace, and that peace changes everything. It changes how they sleep, how their body repairs itself, how their mind prepares for tomorrow. Those 7 minutes have activated a process within them that medicine alone cannot create, a process where the body feels safe enough to heal. The body is not a machine that simply obeys commands. It is a living system deeply influenced by thoughts, emotions, and spirit. When a person is afraid, the body reacts. When a person is hopeful, the body reacts. Prayer directs the inner life in a way that creates space for the body's natural healing processes to function at their best. Cells repair more effectively when the environment inside the body is calm. The immune system works more strongly when not suppressed by stress. Blood flow improves when the mind is no longer gripped by anxiety. All of this can begin within a few minutes of focused prayer. It is not about asking for instant miracles, but about creating the conditions where healing can flourish naturally. Many underestimate the value of 7 minutes because it seems too simple, too short, too ordinary. But think of how often 7 minutes of negativity can poison a day. A stressful meeting, a painful phone call, a few minutes of bad news, and the body reacts immediately. Heart pounding, stomach tightening, head aching. If 7 minutes of negativity can harm, why couldn't 7 minutes of prayer heal? The difference lies in intention. Where the mind focuses, the body follows. Where the spirit connects, the whole being responds. That is why the practice of daily prayer, even in short intervals, compounds into long-term transformation. The 7 minutes today build resilience for tomorrow. The 7 minutes tomorrow prepare the body for challenges yet to come. Stories of healing through prayer are often dismissed as coincidence. Yet time and again people share how just a few moments of deep, sincere prayer changed their condition. Sometimes it is dramatic, sometimes subtle, but always powerful. The skeptic may argue it is placebo, but even if that were the case, the placebo effect itself is evidence of the body's ability to heal when the mind and soul are convinced of hope. Prayer is not deception, it is alignment, and alignment brings about the very conditions that medical science recognizes as beneficial. 7 minutes can activate hope, and hope is not empty, it has measurable impact on physiology. Hope strengthens resilience, boosts immunity, and changes outcomes. That is not imagination. It is reality. When people think of healing, they imagine long treatments, endless waiting, and exhausting processes, but they rarely imagine that something so small as 7 minutes could make a difference. Yet the power is not in the length of time, but in the depth of focus. 7 minutes of scrolling on a phone is meaningless, but 7 minutes of pure presence in prayer can transform an entire day. It can change the way someone faces their sickness, the way they interact with their loved ones, the way they carry themselves through pain. Those 7 minutes become a sacred space where the body is reminded it is safe, the mind is reminded it is calm, and the soul is reminded it is not alone. In that space, healing is not only possible, it is already beginning. Prayer is not about words, it is about connection, surrender, and presence with the Creator. And when you understand this, the act of prayer transforms from a routine into a lifeline. Many people think prayer is about reciting phrases, repeating memorized lines, or saying the right combination of words to persuade God to act. But true prayer is far deeper than language. It is the alignment of the heart, the willingness to let go of control, and the awareness that you are not isolated in your struggle. Words can be spoken, but it is the posture of the soul that carries the power. You can say nothing at all, and still, if your heart is open in connection, the essence of prayer is alive. Connection is the first and most essential element. To pray is to step into relationship. It is not shouting into the void, it is entering into a dialogue with the source of life itself. That connection is what makes prayer different from self-talk or positive thinking. Positive affirmations can encourage the mind, but prayer connects the spirit to something greater than the self, something eternal. It is like plugging into a power source when your own battery is empty. The body may be weak, the mind may be overwhelmed, but in that connection, strength flows that is not your own. That is why so many people who pray describe a sense of peace that cannot be explained by logic. They feel carried, supported, sustained, even in the middle of pain. The connection itself becomes healing, but connection alone is not enough without surrender. Surrender is the act of releasing control, of admitting that you do not have all the answers and that you cannot fix everything by your own effort. For many, this is the hardest part of prayer, because we are taught to fight, to push, to control outcomes, to do everything in our power. Yet the truth is there are battles the human will alone cannot win. Illness, grief, uncertainty, these are places where human strength reaches its limit. Prayer gives us a way to lay down the weight we were never meant to carry alone. In surrender, the nervous system itself begins to relax. The mind that was racing slows down because it no longer believes it has to figure everything out. The body that was tense releases because it no longer feels it has to carry the whole burden. The soul that was afraid breathes because it knows it is in the hands of the Creator. This surrender is not weakness, it is freedom. And it is in that freedom that healing begins. Presence is the third dimension, and it is the one people often overlook. Many rush through prayer as if checking a box, but the power is not in the act of saying you prayed. It is in being fully present in that moment. Presence means turning off the distractions, silencing the inner noise, and being aware that you are standing in sacred space in the company of the Creator who knows you completely. Presence is about showing up fully, mind, body, and soul, and not just going through the motions. It is in presence that people feel the closeness of God, the warmth of peace, the lifting of fear. Presence transforms prayer from ritual into encounter, and that encounter itself carries healing power. When you are present in prayer, time slows down, anxieties fade, and a sense of wholeness begins to emerge. Think of someone sitting in silence. No elaborate words, no dramatic gestures, just a heart open before God. Their body is still, their breathing steady, and in that silence they are more connected than at any other moment in the day. That is prayer. Or imagine a person whispering words between tears, unable to form complete sentences, but every tear itself is a prayer, every breath a cry of surrender. That is prayer. Or picture a person walking through nature, simply aware of the presence of the Creator in every tree, every bird, every breeze on their skin. That is prayer. None of these moments depend on eloquence, yet each carries healing, because prayer is not about what is said. It is about who you are with, and how open you are to that presence. When prayer becomes about words alone, it risks becoming empty. People may say beautiful things, but feel nothing change inside them because the heart is not engaged. But when prayer is connection, surrender, and presence, it transforms even the smallest moment into a space of restoration. A person lying in a hospital bed can pray without words, simply by resting their fears in God's hands. A mother worrying about her child can pray in silence, simply by surrendering her child's future to the Creator. A worker exhausted after a long day can pray by closing their eyes for a few minutes and becoming aware that they are not alone. These simple, sincere moments carry more healing power than hours of empty words. Prayer in its purest form is not performance. It is relationship. Healing through prayer is not about demanding that God remove every difficulty instantly. It is about drawing close enough to feel strength in the middle of the difficulty, peace in the middle of chaos, hope in the middle of despair. That closeness itself brings healing because it changes how you carry the struggle. The disease may still be present, but the fear loses its grip. The pain may remain, but the sense of abandonment disappears. The uncertainty may continue, but the spirit is anchored. That shift is healing, because healing is not only about the absence of disease, but about the restoration of wholeness in the human experience. Prayer restores wholeness by bringing us back to the awareness of God's presence. There are countless stories of people who found healing not through dramatic miracles, but through the quiet strength of prayer. Someone battling anxiety discovers that their panic softens after they spend a few minutes in surrendered prayer. Someone fighting depression feels a spark of hope after sitting in silence with God. Someone struggling with chronic illness finds the courage to face another day because prayer has reminded them they are not alone. These are not coincidences. They are the effects of connection, surrender, and presence. Each moment of prayer reshapes the mind, calms the body, and nourishes the soul. And that is healing in its truest form. The remarkable thing is that prayer does not require anything external to begin. You do not need a perfect place, a perfect time, or perfect words. All you need is the willingness to connect, to surrender, and to be present. Even 7 minutes of such prayer can alter the entire trajectory of your day. In those minutes you may feel peace return, strength rise, and courage grow. And as those moments accumulate day after day, the body finds rest more easily, the mind quiets more quickly, and the soul feels less heavy. The practice becomes not just a spiritual habit, but a healing rhythm woven into daily life. And that rhythm is what transforms the human experience of pain into a journey marked by presence, strength, and peace. True healing is not only the removal of disease, but the restoration of inner peace, hope, and strength. And to truly understand this, we need to expand our definition of what it means to be healed. Many people believe healing only happens when symptoms disappear, when pain is gone, when medical tests return with perfect results. But if healing is limited to that, then countless people who live with chronic illness, emotional scars, or unchangeable circumstances are excluded from the possibility of being whole again. The truth is, healing goes deeper than the surface. It is about more than a diagnosis. It is about how you live, how you breathe, how you find meaning in the midst of struggle. It is about restoring the parts of you that disease cannot touch directly, the spirit that carries you, the peace that steadies you, the hope that fuels you, the strength that rises within you even when the body is weak. Consider someone who is physically ill. The medicine may be working slowly, the body may still ache, but if that person regains peace of mind, their entire experience shifts. They no longer live each day consumed by fear. They begin to notice beauty in small things again. They can sit with loved ones without the cloud of constant worry. That peace is healing even before the illness is gone. Or imagine someone who has battled despair for years. The situation around them might not change immediately, but the moment they rediscover hope, a spark returns to their eyes. Hope gives them courage to keep moving, to keep fighting, to believe in a better tomorrow. That hope is healing. Or think of someone who feels weak, unable to face life, but through prayer and faith, they find an inner strength that surprises them. Their body may not yet be what it once was, but their spirit carries a resilience that no disease can take away. That strength is healing. Inner peace is perhaps the most overlooked dimension of healing. So many people search for physical cures but neglect the storm raging in their hearts and minds. Stress, anxiety, bitterness, and fear often linger long after the body begins to recover. But when inner peace is restored, healing takes on a fuller meaning. Peace quiets the mind, lowers the body's defenses, and allows life to be lived with grace. Peace does not mean the absence of struggle. It means the ability to walk through struggle without being crushed by it. Prayer plays a vital role in creating that peace. In prayer, you step out of chaos and into calm. You lay down burdens too heavy to carry and trust that you are held by something greater. That sense of release is healing, not because it erases problems, but because it frees the soul from being enslaved by them. Hope is the second dimension, and without it, healing feels incomplete. A person can recover physically yet remain broken inside if hope has not returned. Hope is the belief that tomorrow holds possibility, that the story is not finished, that there is light even when darkness seems overwhelming. Hope gives the sick the will to fight another day. Hope gives the weary the courage to rise again. Hope sustains the heart in a way medicine cannot. Countless studies have shown that people with hope recover faster, respond better to treatment, and live longer. But beyond the science, hope is the spark that makes life worth living. Prayer ignites hope by reminding us that we are not forgotten, that God still works in ways we may not see, and that every moment of life has meaning. Even in pain, hope says there is more ahead. That vision of more is itself a form of healing. Strength is the third dimension. True healing is not only about feeling better, it is about becoming stronger in the process. Strength does not always mean physical power. Sometimes it means emotional resilience, the ability to face uncertainty without breaking. Sometimes it means spiritual endurance, the kind of strength that keeps a person steady even when everything around them is shaking. Illness has a way of stripping away illusions, leaving people to discover what truly sustains them. Prayer builds strength by anchoring the soul. In moments of weakness, prayer is a reminder that you do not stand alone, that there is a power greater than you ready to carry you. That realization fuels strength you did not know you had. People who find this strength often say their struggles gave them perspective, deepened their compassion, and taught them to endure. That is healing. Even if the disease has not vanished, when you put peace, hope, and strength together, you see that healing is a multi-layered experience. A body without disease but without peace is still unwell. A mind free of fear but without hope is still incomplete. A soul that has peace and hope but no strength will falter when the next storm comes. But when all three are restored, a person feels whole again. Wholeness is not perfection, it is integration. It is when the body, mind, and soul move in harmony, not without struggle, but with the resilience to move through struggle with grace. That kind of healing radiates outward. A person who has peace, hope, and strength becomes a source of encouragement to others. Their presence itself carries healing energy, because they live as proof that wholeness is possible even in the middle of imperfection. Think of the countless people who live with chronic illness, but inspire others with their joy. Their bodies may not be fully healed, but their peace, their hope, and their strength radiate more powerfully than perfect health could. Or think of survivors who, despite scars, walk with dignity and resilience. Their healing is not defined by the absence of scars, but by the presence of strength. Or those who have walked through deep grief, yet somehow find peace that allows them to comfort others in their own pain. That peace is evidence of healing beyond what the eye can see. Each of these lives teaches us that healing is not limited to physical outcomes. It is a process of restoration that goes deeper than medicine can reach. When people approach healing only as the removal of disease, they set themselves up for disappointment. They may recover physically, but feel empty inside. Or they may not see the outcome they hoped for and assume healing never came. But when healing is understood as the restoration of peace, hope, and strength, it becomes accessible to everyone. No matter the diagnosis, no matter the situation, every person can experience healing in some form. Prayer is the key that unlocks this deeper healing. In prayer, peace flows into anxious hearts. In prayer, hope rises where despair lived. In prayer, strength fills the weary soul. These inner transformations may not always change the outward situation immediately, but they change the way a person lives within it. And that is true healing. Healing that restores peace, hope, and strength is not a one-time event. It is a journey. It grows through practice, through trust, through daily moments of connection with God. Each prayer plants seeds of peace. Each act of surrender nurtures hope. Each step of faith builds strength. Over time, these seeds grow into a resilient wholeness that cannot be shaken by circumstances. The disease may linger, the challenges may persist, but the person who carries peace, hope, and strength carries healing within them wherever they go. That kind of healing is not bound by time, diagnosis, or condition. It is the kind of healing that transforms lives from the inside out. The choice to give just 7 minutes daily can transform despair into faith and open the door to healing. And what seems so small on the surface carries more weight than most people realize. 7 minutes is less than the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, less than the time it takes to scroll through a handful of posts on a phone, less than the time wasted in hesitation or complaint. Yet when that time is dedicated intentionally to prayer, to stillness, to connection, it becomes a seed of transformation. The mind often thinks healing must come from long, complex, exhausting processes, but transformation often begins in the smallest, simplest commitments. 7 minutes is both small enough to be possible for anyone and significant enough to change the trajectory of a day, a mindset, even a life. Despair is heavy. It drains energy. It clouds vision. It whispers that there is no way forward. It is often the greatest barrier to healing, not the sickness itself, but the loss of belief that healing is possible. A person in despair stops fighting, stops hoping, stops seeking solutions. Yet the remarkable thing about despair is that it does not require a full cure to be broken. It only requires a spark, a single light in the darkness, something strong enough to remind the heart that all is not lost. 7 minutes of prayer has the power to create that spark. In those minutes, the soul lifts its eyes, the mind stops rehearsing failure, and the heart becomes willing to believe again. That shift from despair to faith is often the first and most essential step in the healing journey. Faith does not always mean certainty, but it means trust, the willingness to lean into something greater than yourself. Faith breathes where despair suffocates. Faith creates resilience where despair paralyzes. Faith invites the body to relax, the mind to focus, and the soul to rest. Even if the disease is not gone, faith tells you that you are not alone, that there is a purpose in your pain, that there is strength available beyond your own. That faith is what sustains people through long nights, difficult treatments, or overwhelming challenges. And that faith can be born in just 7 minutes a day when someone chooses to step into prayer. Each day, as those minutes accumulate, faith grows stronger, despair loses its grip, and the door to healing opens wider. Think of a person who feels consumed by hopelessness. Every morning they wake up, weighed down by fear, certain nothing will change. If they do nothing, despair deepens and healing feels impossible. But if they take 7 minutes to sit quietly, close their eyes, breathe deeply, and open themselves to God in prayer, something begins to shift. On the first day, it may feel awkward or insignificant, but by the 3rd day, they notice their anxiety softening. By the 5th day, a faint sense of peace settles in. By the 7th day, hope flickers where none existed before. That is the compounding effect of small daily choices. Healing rarely comes all at once. It unfolds through faith, and faith grows through consistent moments of surrender. The beauty of 7 minutes is that it removes excuses. Anyone can spare that time. You do not need special equipment, a sacred building, or a perfect atmosphere. All you need is willingness. You could be in a hospital bed, at your work desk, or sitting in your living room, and 7 minutes of prayer is available to you. What matters is not where you are, but how open you are in those moments. By setting aside even that brief time daily, you are